Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to step onto the ice for some biscuits and penalties. I'm your host, Alex, and joining me, as per usual, is Cobra. Say hi, Cobra.
Hey, don't be insulted. Y'all know y'all love me. Y'all love your goaltender, Cobra. And I don't mind being the backup bitch tonight, Alex.
As we get into the playoff race, we have somehow blinked and we are in the Western and Conference Finals. And let me tell you this has been one of the most intense races for the Stanley Cup I have seen in a long time. Wouldn't you agree with me, Cobra?
Oh, absolutely. I think with the momentum from from the from the semifinal, it has definitely started to amp up and ramp up. I am thoroughly impressed from the showing of the top two teams in the divisions. Um, Obviously the Dallas Stars and the Edmonton Oilers deserve their spot, as well as the Florida Panthers and the Carolina Hurricanes. But we will talk more about how the Florida Panthers got there in a quick minute. Am I wrong?
You are not wrong. Currently, Connor McDavid and the Oilers are in a tight race, splitting the series so far in two games with the Stars. Stars won game one in record fashion in the third period, scoring four goals in the third period to knock off the Oilers. And then Stuart Skinner does his work in net in game two, shuts out the Stars, and the Oilers get it done 3-0 with Connor Jesus doing his work and putting the puck where it needs to go. Was Stuart Skinner the right choice for the Oilers in net, or is the original goalie a better option? It seems like Skinner is a good option for them, knowing that he shut them out in game number two. What did you think?
Well, let me correct you on that. Stuart Skinner is the main starter of the Edmonton Oilers, not Calvin Pickard. Let me correct you on that. So, to give Stuart Skinner the option to come back is definitely the right move. However, I will say this: he is not the right fit for Stanley Cup playoffs. He is definitely not. I will say this openly. He's not a good goaltender, if that makes sense. He's an okay goaltender. Don't get me wrong, but in the Stanley Cup playoffs, getting a goaltender that'll definitely show up when needed. And my question to that, on that addendum, is Stuart Skinner's fluctuation of ability to keep showing up and keep giving the Edmonton Oilers fans a heart attack every time, or was that shutout last night a result of good defense, and not necessarily Stuart Skinner's ability? I mean, obviously Stuart Skinner has earned his spot in the NHL. I mean, he's got more talent than I do, but the point still stands. Does he have enough to actually win a cup? Because from what I've seen, all roads lead to suspect at best.
I definitely agree. I feel like this Oilers team more so looks like last year's team. Good defense, plays into good offense, plays into good play in the net. But how are they going to fare later in the series? 'Cause Dallas doesn't die. They do not die without a fight. We saw it against the Avalanche in the first round for the Stars. They went into a tight race with them and ended up getting the win in that series. So this is a big challenge for Skinner. I hope he plays well. I hope the Oilers play well. I am strongly rooting for them in this Western Conference final because I'm a big McDavid fan. I was rooting for him last year against the Panthers, and they couldn't get it done. but I hopefully Skinner does well for them still. And as the Stars play have been playing, this is going to be a 7-game series, in my opinion. Mikko Rantanen is probably the best player in the playoffs so far, outside of maybe Connor McDavid, because he has rubbed in the face of Avalanche fans that he was not the issue in Colorado. It was the Avalanche being the issue in Colorado and not him.
Exactly. Edmonton does have a good core, even though they do have famous responsible gambler Evander Kane. But the point still stands: is Edmonton can get it done. They just need to do something about Stuart Skinner's inconsistency. I mean, I understand he isn't Braden Holt beast. I get it, but even so, a good goaltender can win a championship in hockey. Period. He is the last line of defense for a reason.
Definitely. And to flip to the East in the conference finals, the Panthers are in the same position they were last year in 2 games, up 2-0 against Sebastian Aho and the Hurricanes. What is the problem with Carolina? They had 2 they're not really bad teams. The Devils were young enough. They didn't have experience. The Capitals just played bad. But is this a Hurricanes issue with them having a 14 conference final game losing streak, or is this bad coaching on the part of the Hurricanes?
I don't think it's any of those. I think the Hurricanes just encountered the number 1 cop on the force, and that is Sergei Bobrovsky. They cannot solve Bobrovsky right now. That's their main problem. That's I'm attesting that. I'm testing to that. I don't think it is Rob Brindamore's fault. I don't think it's the Hurricanes' fault. They just can't get through Sergei Bobrovsky. So yeah, it's that's what I'm attributing it to. It's not the Hurricanes' fault. It's not Rob Brindamore's fault. It's they can't get through Bobrovsky. And of course Florida, they're so super powered. And they are. But that is what I'm doing to this. So anyhow.
I do think that it is a Sergei Bobrovsky that they're having trouble getting the puck pass, but they have played teams in the playoffs prior to this that didn't have good goaltending like Bobrovsky. I mean, they played the Bruins and they lost to them. They got swept by the Penguins. But like these teams that had really good offenses, the goalies weren't as powerful as Bobrovsky. So I think the Hurricanes don't know how to put the puck on net. They have a great roster. Sebastian Aho is the rising star on that Kings team. He continues to show that year in and year out. And Anderson is an amazing goalie. Anderson has made some crazy saves with the Hurricanes, and he's the only reason the Canes might have an opportunity to come back in this series if he somehow finds the way to shut out Florida tonight, because they're playing now as we speak, or about to play as we speak. If Anderson finds his way in the net, the Canes need to rally behind him and push for it, because if they're not, they're going to lose and Florida get swept again and again and again, because this Florida team is not stoppable. The Lightning couldn't do it. The Hurricanes team currently cannot do it. And I think if Anderson plays well, they need to rally behind him, because Anderson is a great goalie. He made some crazy saves against the Capitals, crazy against the Devils. If you watch highlight reels of him, your jaw will be on the floor. Anderson needs to find his footing.
There's no doubt that Harold Bluetooth, aka Freddie Anderson, is an excellent goaltender. I will not dispute that. However, I will openly say that Freddie Anderson is also a little bit, a little bit. He's getting what's the right word? He's getting up there in age. The talent level is there. It's just how long does he have? How long does he have? Um, I hope he has a long career. Don't get me wrong, but it's like, how long does he have? I mean, it's clear that the future is bright with Pyotr Kochetkov in net as the backup, but it's also, again, how long does Freddie Anderson have? And I hope he has a long career, a long time. Yeah, not a long time, but more time in net because he does have that talent.
Definitely. And we're going to talk about more on the dead teams that got eliminated in the second round of the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Winnipeg Jets. Both teams that we were high on going into their games, and they both blew it for us. We both thought the Leafs and the Jets were going to come back in the series and win, and they pulled a Canada and lost both of them. Is this a big problem for Canada when they cannot win the playoffs, or was Florida and Dallas too powerful for the Leafs and the Jets to beat this year?
I think when it uh came down to the Canadian teams in the Stanley Cup playoffs, I think they just didn't have enough gas in the tank to keep up. They were trying, don't get me wrong, but it was they ran into brick walls. Ottinger and Bobrovsky are no joke, by the way. So that was one of the things they encountered. Uh, so you cannot blame Canada. I mean, it's not their fault. You know, it's just they ran into something something stronger to them.
I do agree, and I felt looking at the Jets this year, they were playing a Blues team that was doing something that they haven't done since 2019. We heard all the rumors and stuff like, oh, the Blues are playing like 2019 Stanley Cup over again. Joey Binghamton is him. Joey Binghamton is the guy. And the Jets looked at that and said, oh my God, we're going to struggle with this. They ended up winning in 7 games, but Jordan Binghamton is by far one of the best goalies in this playoffs from the first round that unfortunately couldn't get out of the first round because of how good the Jets are with Carter Hellebuyck. Even though he was like iffy in that series still, but that the Hellebuyck still got them into the second round with his firepower. But this Jets team has encountered back to back probably top 10 goalies of this year, and Joey Bennington and Jake Ottinger, and they just folded and collapsed. I mean, they beat Jordan Bennington, but that Blues team struggled on defense to stop the Jets. The Jets were throwing pucks on net like it was nothing, and the Blues couldn't stop it. Look at Ottinger, who's a top 5 goalie, probably in the league right now, and they blew it in 6 games? They couldn't get it done. And this is just a Jets issue. They were the President's Trophy winner, playing against 2 top goalies, and just couldn't get it done.
I think it's a little bit deeper than that. Not gonna lie. I also think that with Winnipeg, they relied too much on Hellebuck. They didn't have any offensive firepower. I mean, they used to have a player who was can't speak today. They used to have a player who delivered the type of firepower that you would expect. His name was Dustin Byfuglien. They need someone like Byfuglien who was a flexible type of bruising defenseman. He could play forward if he had to, but he could absolutely wreck shit. However, I also know that you can't really have those types of players all the time. They're high maintenance, yeah, blah blah. But it's clear that they just didn't have enough of grit. They didn't have enough scoring touch to have the Jets advance further. The Jets ran out of steam. That's the best way I can say it. The Jets just ran out of gas.
Definitely good insight into that. But my biggest question out of second round is, was it the downfall of the Toronto Maple Leafs, or do they have too much star power that it's hurting them financially and in the playoff run, as they seem to never get past the first or second round? I know Cobra has an interesting opinion about this. So do you think it was a downfall of the Leafs, or do you think they have too much star power?
I think it's a lot. It's a lot of a mix. Probably the biggest one is they do have too much star power. They do. That core four, that vaunted core four, with William Nylander, Mitch Marner, John Tavares, and and Austin Matthews. You have those four. Those four. They commanded. They were when they're young. They commanded a lot of prices, but they were they were high level talents. They had all the necessary tools to demand the bag. But the problem with that is, what are you going to do about backup goaltending? What are you going to do about, the team around you? And they couldn't answer the question, because when it came time to do so, well, we saw what happened. Every year, it's been second first, same as the first. I wake up every morning enjoying the memes of Steve Dangle and enjoying Steve Dangle just rage quit, just rage every year, just suffer, just kind of suffering over his team getting their asses kicked because of bullshit that they've done. It's Steve Dangle had a very interesting take that this streak that they've had, not the 60-year streak of we haven't made the Stanley Cup final. It's the streak of, we're going to be mediocre in the playoffs, every single year. We can't make it past the elimination round. That was decided, as he said, it was decided in 2019 when it was time to pay Mitch Marner. Mitch Marner did the Mitch Marner thing, as far as, I've got roots here, I've got a family here, I don't want to move. If you're gonna pay me, blah blah blah. And at the same token, it was like, what I had to, when it happened, when they paid Marner, then when they paid Matthews, it was like, there's no way you're going to keep Tavares. There's no way you're going to keep William Nylander. They gotta be traded, because you can't pay them. You need other assets. No, they ended up paying those four, and now all four of them are definitely going to be gone. And Toronto's going to perpetually spin the tires, and now Brendan Shanahan, is gone. So that's my big takeaway on that.
I think I do agree with you. I think it's a mixture of the Leafs' downfall and their core for being possibly overpaid because they seem to always disappoint Leafs fans year in and year out. Because I've seen Leafs videos on TikTok and YouTube of them be like, where was the grit? Where was the motivation? Why do you deserve us as fans? Because we walk into the stadium and we get blown out at home. We will, for no reason because we just can't get anything going. And I think if I'm the Leafs ownership, I'm sitting down and being like, what do we need to do to fix this? And I think it's trading Matthews and Nylander and starting over. Starting with two big players, trading them for draft picks, trading them for other players, or even money. If that's even a thing in hockey. I know it's a thing in baseball. But trading
It
Matthews and
used to be a
Nylander,
thing in hockey. It used to be a thing in hockey.
they need to trade Matthews and Nylander and start with two big players. And I think the two big players are not Matthews and Nylander. They need to worry about, and then they need to start over with something. Not saying scrap everything and start over. Like free agency and like the draft and stuff, they need to be talking about that now. Not later, but now, because this Leafs team needs to fix it, or they're going to lose the fan base in the Maple Leafs because they're already losing them when they lost in 7 to the Panthers and got blown out at home because they just couldn't do it. And I honestly think if I'm a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, I am demanding them to fix something, or I'm leaving the fan base and finding a different team to root for because I refuse to go through more pain and suffering by first round eliminations or second round eliminations to teams that we should easily beat based on who's on our roster.
I know, Alex. I know you were always saying to Maple Leafs fans, first time, considering that you've experienced this type of disappointment before.
I have. Capitals got swept last year in 4 to the Rangers after barely making the playoffs, lost in 5 to the Canes this year, and this is a recurring thing for me. I haven't seen my team win a cup in, 9 years? 10 years? So I'm
Maple,
joining the Leafs fans.
Maple Leafs fans have not seen their team hoist the Stanley Cup unless it was historical videos. The last time the Maple Leafs have hoisted Lord Stanley's Cup, there were only 6 teams in the NHL. 6.
Jeez.
SIX.
Yeah, I'm definitely demanding to do something if I'm a Leafs fan because 6 teams, that means they haven't won since the original 6 were in the NHL, which, by the way, I think the NHL started in like what, the 1940s?
1967. 1967.
That's insane. And now we have what, 2 expansion teams,
We've had
excluding the
we've had
Coyotes, but
we've had 4. We've had, I think, 4 or 5 expansions.
that is insane. And I feel bad for Toronto fans because none of their teams can do anything in any sport. And hockey is their biggest sport because it is Canada's biggest sport. And their biggest sport is disappointment to them every single year. And honestly speaking here, the Oilers are the only chance for Canada to bring home a Stanley Cup because they haven't won one home since what, the Canadians last won it, which
Yeah,
they won
yeah.
27 in the 40s. So
The
it's
last time the Montreal Canadiens won the Stanley Cup, it was 1993.
but moving on from the Toronto Maple Laughs, Maple Cries, Maple whatever you want to call them
Maple
because disappointing.
tears, maple syrup. Uh, Go ahead.
Out of the 4 teams left right now, what is your number one Stanley Cup final that you are going to watch intently and maybe want to go to 7 games this year?
If the Stanley Cup matchup that I personally would want, um, well, I would actually go with Florida and Dallas. Um, and the reason why I say Florida and Dallas and not Florida Oilers 2 Electric Boogaloo is, well, for one thing, Jake Ottinger is a great goaltender. I would like to see how he does against Sergei Bobrovsky. Um, so that's my humble opinion.
I definitely agree with that. I'm looking at the last four teams, and it looks like the Stars and the Panthers are the best two remaining teams in the Final Four that they seemed to look last year, but the Stars couldn't get it done against the Oilers. The Oilers ended up losing at 7-4 last year. But I do want to see Mikko Rantanen and Matthew Tkachuk and Jake Ottinger and Sergei Bobrovsky. I think it's going to be a five-star series. And this is a series that, I'm rooting for because I'm rooting heavily against Carolina. Give me the sweep. Come on, Panthers, do your job. And I'm hoping the Stars do their job too. Hunter plays like he's playing in the first two games. Granted, he did struggle last night against, or not last night, was it Wednesday? Whatever it was. He struggled. He let three goals in, and the Stars couldn't get anything going against Skinner. But I do think the Stars can get this series done. 6 or 7 games, I do see it. And I think if the Stars and Panthers make the Stanley Cup final, I'm going to take the Stars in 7 here. Based on the better goalie play Ottinger, it's very tight with Bobrovsky and him, but Ottinger has shown he can play well. He had a really good Avalanche team with multiple award winners against him, and he got it done. They won in 7 games. He saved some crazy shots against them. They got it done against the Jets in 6 games. And another amazing outing for Ottinger. This is the Dallas Stars year. And I know a lot of people are saying, oh, but Dallas always says that. But I'm being serious. I think Dallas will get a Stanley Cup or championship for the first time in a long time. And I think it's going to be on the back of Jake Ottinger this year. So give me the Stars in 7 with a bold, way too early Stanley Cup prediction because I love Jake Ottinger in this series.
Right. Definitely going with what I was saying as well.
Anything
Uh,
else you like to add before we wind down here?
well, it is definitely fun for these Stanley Cup finals. I kind of wish that different teams were in the final. But hey, you piss with the cock you're given, and so that's all I have to say about that.
Definitely do agree. It sucks that last year's conference finals were the same as this year's conference finals. But like everyone says, these are the best four teams left in the bracket. And obviously, I wanted differently. Knowing me, Caps fan, I was like, well, let's do this. Let's run the table, boys. And then we didn't. But this playoffs has been really fun to watch. And I'm going to say this right now. Once the Stanley Cup final happens and we know a champion, I'm going to be watching highlights of the Stanley Cup final and the whole playoffs of the next season because I've been really happy to watch this unfold, and I'm sad that like every sport ever, playoffs are there and gone faster than you can say Stanley Cup because of how fast it moves. And it's been an amazing year this year for fans that are in the Final Four and fans that got knocked out early because every team shocked and surprised all of us, especially the Kings. I was not expecting the Kings to like give Edmonton a great series, and I mean they lost in that series, but the Kings shocked me. I'm not gonna lie, they shocked me. I guess the Oilers this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I could not believe these series that have been going on. I kind of wish that Edmonton was eliminated first, just because it's just how it is. I'm getting kind of tired of Edmonton. Um, because just seriously, just because. Um,
with that being said, this episode of Biscuits Penalties was brought to you by Dr. Squatch. Memorial Day is right around the corner, which means sales, sales, sales. So go out and get yourself some soap or shampoo for you men out there and for the lovely lady in your life, because they have Jukebox, which is a women branded deodorant and soap company. So if you, lovely lady, needs some good soggy soap, use Dr. Squatch. If you do, use the link in the bio when you buy Dr. Squatch.
Yeah,
I know
that is
Cobra
right.
he uses Dr. Squatch.
I use Dr. Squatch when I can. They don't only make soap; they also have other products as well, like lip balm, lotion, other products as well to keep you keep you hygienic.
I would like to mention our other podcast, the Dirt and Two podcast, which actually happened early on this morning. So go listen to that and
Yep,
listen to. Hmm?
as I was about to say, it is currently on Spotify and is uploading to YouTube. So do give that a listen. It does definitely get crazy. Um, that's the best way I'll say it, because yeah, like the cat agreed with Yinzer. That never happens.
Oh wow!
Yeah, something happened. Cat agreed with the Yinzer. That never happens, people. So yeah, please give that a listen.
The Hard Count on Football podcast, which is gearing up for season number 4 later on in September as we gear up for the NFL season, which I'm super excited for. I know Cobra is, and
Oh,
I hope you guys
absolutely.
are ready for that because
Yep, the hard
preseason is right around the corner.
the hard count is gearing up for season 4. But not only that, but we also have college football coming up with Passing the Pigskin, hosted by our friend Tyler. We also have The Lap Down, our NASCAR and motorsport podcast. And of course, our wrestling podcast, the Social Slam podcast. Do keep an ear out for those podcasts as well. I mean, just because someone slept on The Lap Down doesn't mean you have to sleep on these podcasts. So once again, give them a listen on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Show the channel some love and show us that you care.
Also, want to mention we are also on TikTok until whenever we are not on TikTok, because we all know the government sucks.
Yeah. The velvet, yeah, of course, the pumpkin spice Palpatine, wanted to be an asshole.
And like Cobra said earlier, wherever you get your podcast from, make sure you listen to all our catalog. If you are a fan of any of these sports or just want something to make you smile, laugh about, because some of these podcasts make the host laugh, so make you laugh as well.
Yeah,
But that is
and I was about to say, I definitely have a habit of breaking the podcast a little bit. Yeah. So go ahead, Alex.
But that is it for Biscuits and Penalties. We will see you guys on the ice. We will be possibly talking what the future Stanley Cup final would be as we wind down the series of the Eastern and Western Conference finals. And let's see if I'm right on what's going to happen, because I threw out a early prediction for the finals.
All right, we'll see. We'll see you at the Stanley Cup final, everyone. But unfortunately, we got to step off. The Zamboni is coming. See ya.
See you, everybody.